It's been about 2 months or so since Donald Trump took office, and let me just ask the question straight up. Is the US economy doing better now? I mean, can you actually afford more now than you could under Joe Biden? In reality, reports show higher prices, rising costs for businesses, slower economic growth, and weaker ties with allies, all thanks to Donald Trump's tariffs. By the way, a few months ago, I actually asked ChatGPT to predict what would happen, and no surprise, it pretty much nailed what's going on today. So if you missed that video, make sure to go check it out after we're done here. Today, I'm not just gonna ask AI to break down Trump's tariffs, I want it to actually fix them. It's gonna analyze the economy without bias or emotion, and then lay out a tariff strategy that actually makes sense. Not as Donald Trump sees them, but how a competent person would handle it. So be sure to watch this video until the end, because ChatGPT is about to save our economy in real time. But before we get into that, be sure to subscribe to the channel right now, or really anytime while you're here. I drop new videos each and every week, and I'm pretty sure you're going to find plenty here that'll keep you coming back. Alright, thanks a lot, and now let's get into it. And here we go. As always, we need to gather up the latest information so it's up to date on where the economy stands. And once that's set, I'll get to the first question. Alright, now it's ready, so I'm telling it to be clear, straightforward, unbiased, call a spade, no sugarcoating, no fluff, none of that. First up, I'm going to ask it to break down how Trump's tariffs have affected the economy since he took office, so we get a real sense of where things stand after these first 2 months, and here it is. Trump's tariffs since coming back to office have been a mess. He claims they're protecting American jobs and punishing unfair trade practices, but the reality is they've raised prices, strained supply chains, and made life more expensive for regular Americans. The tariffs on China, steel, aluminum, and European goods have jacked up costs for US manufacturers, which means higher prices for everything from cars to appliances. Companies aren't just absorbing the costs, they're passing them straight to consumers. The auto industry got hit hard. Steel and aluminum tariffs made production more expensive, which meant cars and trucks cost more. That's on top of inflation already driving up prices. So now, American consumers are paying thousands more for vehicles that wouldn't have cost as much if Trump hadn't doubled down on tariffs. Meanwhile, foreign automakers have started shifting production out of the US to avoid the extra costs, which means fewer jobs for American workers in the long run. That's the irony. Tariffs were supposed to bring jobs back, but they're making it harder for companies to operate here competitively. Then there's agriculture. Trump's trade war with China never really ended, and now American farmers are dealing with even more tariffs on their exports. China and the EU hit back with their own tariffs on US goods, which means fewer buyers for American soybeans, corn, pork, and other farm products. Farmers are getting squeezed, just like they did during his first term. And once again, the government is throwing billions in subsidies at them to keep them afloat. So taxpayers are paying for both the tariffs and the bailouts. Consumer goods haven't been spared either. Electronics, furniture, and household appliances have all gone up in price because many of the parts and materials come from countries facing Trump's tariffs. Even food prices have been affected. Tariffs on imported goods and retaliatory tariffs on US exports have disrupted supply chains, making some products harder to get or just more expensive. Everyday Americans are paying more for groceries, household essentials, and big-ticket items, while wages aren't keeping up. The stock market hasn't reacted well either. Investors don't like uncertainty, and Trump's trade policies have been chaotic at best. Every time he announces a new tariff threat, markets dip. Businesses hate not knowing what's coming next, so many are holding off on expansion and hiring, which slows down economic growth. It's the same problem he caused during his first term. He plays hardball without a clear strategy, and American businesses end up paying for it. The biggest problem is that none of this is actually fixing the trade imbalances Trump keeps talking about. The trade deficit with China is still massive, and US companies are still outsourcing production, just not always to China. Many have moved operations to Vietnam, Mexico, or India to dodge the tariffs, so the end result is that manufacturing isn't coming back to the US in any meaningful way, but Americans are paying higher prices anyway. Bottom line, the tariffs have been a disaster. They've made things more expensive, hurt American businesses, and done nothing to actually bring jobs back. Trump can keep selling them as a win, but in reality, they've been a tax on American consumers and a drag on the economy. Yeah, well, that sounds about right, but I mean, some might say that ChatGPT only focuses on the negatives, so let's ask it if there's anything good about it or not, and here it is. If you're looking for any positives, there are a few, but they come with big caveats. Some industries are benefiting, at least in the short term. Steel and aluminum producers got a short-term boost since foreign competition was hit with tariffs, leading to some factory reopenings. But higher steel prices are hurting automakers and construction, so what they gain, others lose. Some companies are diversifying supply chains, reducing reliance on China. But instead of bringing jobs back to the US, many are shifting to Vietnam, India, or Mexico, making things more expensive in the process. Trump also forced a tougher stance on China, getting both parties to take trade competition more seriously. But his tariffs aren't fundamentally changing China's practices, and there are better ways to do it without hurting US businesses and consumers. So, there are some benefits, but the damage, higher prices, job losses, and economic uncertainty outweighs them. Okay, but I wouldn't say there's anything positive about it. Well, alright, let's move on to the next question. You know, I've seen people defending tariffs by saying that other countries already impose tariffs on the US, but when Trump does it, everyone says it's bad. Like, he has every right to do it since they did it to us first. I even saw comments like that under one of my videos. So, let's ask about it and see what ChatGPT has to say about that take. That argument sounds fair on the surface. Other countries impose tariffs on the US, so why shouldn't we do the same? But it ignores how trade actually works and who really pays for tariffs. Every country has tariffs, that's normal. The difference is smart trade policy versus reckless economic self-sabotage. Trump's tariffs aren't part of a well-thought-out strategy. They are blunt, chaotic, and hit everyone, including US allies. Slapping random tariffs on steel, aluminum, cars, and consumer goods doesn't fix trade imbalances. It just makes things more expensive for Americans. The biggest lie about tariffs is that they punish foreign countries. They don't. Americans pay the price. When Trump puts tariffs on Chinese goods, China doesn't eat the cost. US businesses and consumers do. Prices go up, manufacturers struggle with higher costs, and farmers lose key export markets when China and the EU retaliate. It isn't China that suffers the most, it's American workers, businesses, and consumers. If Trump targeted tariffs at actual unfair trade practices, like China's forced tech transfers and state subsidies, it would make sense. Instead, he throws tariffs at everything, including US allies like Canada and Europe, which just pushes them to retaliate. Instead of isolating China, he starts trade fights on all fronts, making it harder to form a united front against real trade abuses. So yes, other countries impose tariffs on the US, but their policies don't wreck their own economies in the process. Smart trade deals are about strategy, not just brute force. Trump's tariffs aren't about fixing trade, they're about short-term political theater that leaves Americans footing the bill. Wow, that sounds like a perfect answer. Thanks, ChatGPT. Now I know exactly how to respond to those people. Alright, now we're getting closer to the main question, and now I want ChatGPT to analyze the current state of tariffs, the economy, and everything Trump has done so far, and then figure out how to fix tariff policy from this exact point. In short, what should Trump do today to make tariffs work tomorrow? We'll get into that next, but first here's a quick reminder. If you're enjoying this conversation with AI, go ahead and hit that like button right now. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the best time to do it. It helps this video to reach more people, which is absolutely amazing for the channel and for me as a creator. So make sure to do that right now. And with all of that out of the way, let's get to the next question. Alright, now I want ChatGPT to take a look at the current state of Trump's tariffs and tell us how it would fix them to actually make them work. So, ChatGPT, go ahead and save our economy. Sure, here's how I'd fix Trump's tariff policy to make it actually work. 1. Trump slaps tariffs on US allies like Canada, the EU, and Japan. Instead of focusing on real trade threats, Trump hits allies with tariffs on steel, aluminum, and other goods. This backfires. Canada, the EU, and Japan retaliate with their own tariffs on US exports, hurting American businesses. It also weakens alliances at a time when the US needs trade partners to counter China. How to fix it? Drop the tariffs on allies immediately. The US should be working with its trade partners, not against them. Instead of fighting Canada and the EU, make them part of a coordinated trade strategy against China's unfair practices. The US needs allies to isolate China economically, not push them closer to Beijing. 2. Trump puts broad tariffs on China instead of targeted ones. Trump's China tariffs cover hundreds of billions of dollars on imports, from raw materials to consumer electronics. But instead of hurting China, they mostly hurt American businesses and consumers, since many of these goods aren't easily replaceable. U.S. companies that rely on Chinese imports pay the price, and China retaliates by blocking U.S. exports, crushing American farmers. How to fix it? Narrow the focus. Keep tariffs only on industries where China actually cheats, like high-tech goods, AI, semiconductors, and state-subsidized products. Instead of taxing everything, target Chinese companies that benefit from forced tech transfers and government subsidies. This punishes China's bad trade practices without driving up costs for U.S. businesses and consumers. 3. Trump uses tariffs as a punishment instead of a negotiation tool. Trump treats tariffs like a permanent punishment instead of a bargaining chip. He imposes tariffs and leaves them there, with no real incentive for countries to negotiate. This leads to endless trade wars instead of actual deals. How to fix it? Use tariffs strategically. Make them conditional. If a country changes its trade policies to meet U.S. demands, lower or remove the tariffs in return. This makes tariffs an incentive for better deals, not just a tax that never goes away. Countries need a reason to negotiate. Trump isn't giving them one. 4. Trump ignores the impact on American farmers and small businesses. China and other countries retaliate with tariffs on U.S. farm products like soybeans, pork, and dairy. American farmers lose billions in sales, and many have to rely on government bailouts to survive. Small businesses that rely on foreign parts or materials see costs skyrocket. How to fix it? Don't put tariffs on essential supply chains without a backup plan. If you're going to hit China with tariffs, you need trade agreements with other countries ready to absorb U.S. exports. Instead of leaving farmers stranded, negotiate stronger trade deals with India, Vietnam, and Latin America to replace lost markets. If businesses are going to face higher costs, offer tax incentives for domestic manufacturing so they can stay competitive. Tariffs should be part of a broader economic plan, not a standalone stunt. 5. Trump's tariff policy is unpredictable, hurting business confidence. One of the biggest problems with Trump's trade policy is the uncertainty. He announces tariffs suddenly, threatens new ones on Twitter, or pulls back without warning. Businesses hate unpredictability, and many hold off on investment because they don't know what's coming next. That slows down job creation and economic growth. How to fix it? Trade policy needs stability. If tariffs are going to be used, lay out a clear long-term strategy so businesses know what to expect. Stop using tariffs as random threats and set clear conditions for when they go up or down. Investors and businesses need confidence in trade policies to plan for the future. Trump's erratic approach scares them off. Bottom line, drop tariffs on allies and unite against China. Target tariffs at Chinese industries that actually cheat, not broad categories. Use tariffs as a negotiation tool, not a permanent tax. Protect U.S. farmers and small businesses with better trade deals and domestic investment. Make trade policy predictable so businesses and investors aren't left guessing. That's how you fix Trump's tariff strategy and make it work without tanking the economy. Alright, well, there you have it. Looks like another solid plan from ChatGPT, but what do you think? Would it actually work? Be sure to share your thoughts down in the comments, leave a like, make sure you're subscribed, and hit the link in the description to become a member and support the channel directly. After that, click on this video where I ask ChatGPT to predict the economy under Trump and his tariffs. I made it before he even took office, and ChatGPT actually got a lot of the things right. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and click on that pop-up, and I'll see you over there in a moment.